Jamin Kim stared at the official letter in his hands for the 10th time that morning. The words still looked impossible. His grandfather Dong-ho Kim, a man he had met only twice in his 19 years, had died and left him everything. Not just money or a small apartment, but an entire estate worth millions of dollars. The bus ride from Seoul to the mountains took 3 hours. Jamin pressed his face against the window, watching the city disappear behind him. He had never been this far from home before. His parents had always refused to talk about grandfather Dong. They said he was a strange man who lived alone and did dangerous work for the government. When the bus finally stopped at a small village, Jamin felt very alone. The taxi driver who picked him up kept looking at him in the mirror. "You are going to the Kim estate?" the driver asked. "That place has been empty for months. Very strange things happen there. Lights in the sky at night, weird sounds." Jamin did not answer. He was too nervous to talk. The estate sat on top of a hill, surrounded by tall trees. It was much bigger than Jamin had expected. The main house looked like a modern mansion, all glass and steel, but there were other buildings too. Strange, round structures that did not look like anything he had ever seen before. The front door opened with his fingerprint. Inside, everything was clean and organized, as if someone had been taking care of it. The furniture was expensive and modern. But what caught Jamin's attention were the strange objects scattered around the rooms. There were screens built into the walls showing symbols he did not recognize. Metal devices that hummed softly when he walked near them. Books written in languages that looked nothing like Korean or English. One entire wall was covered with what looked like star maps, but the patterns were wrong. These were not the stars he knew. In the study, Jamin found photographs of his grandfather with people in strange uniforms. The photos showed meetings in rooms that looked official, but the technology in the background was unlike anything on Earth. In one photo, grandfather Dong-ho was shaking hands with someone whose hand had too many fingers. Jamin's hands were shaking as he picked up a thick folder, marked with his name in Korean. Inside were documents he could barely understand. Legal papers about treaties and agreements. Technical diagrams of machines that seemed impossible. And at the bottom, a letter written in his grandfather's careful handwriting. "My dear grandson," the letter began, "if you are reading this, then I am dead, and you have inherited more than you can imagine. I have spent 30 years keeping Earth safe through diplomacy and deals that most people could never understand. Now that responsibility falls to you. I am sorry for this burden, but there was no other choice. The contract must be honored, or many people will die. Be brave. Jamin, you are stronger than you know." Before Jamin could finish reading, every screen in the house suddenly turned bright blue. A loud humming sound filled the air, growing stronger by the second. Through the windows, he could see the trees bending as if a powerful wind was blowing. But there was no storm. Then he saw it, a massive shadow moving across the sky, blocking out the sun. The thing was huge, bigger than any airplane he had ever seen. It was dark metal with strange lights along its sides, and it was coming down toward the estate. Jamin ran outside, his heart beating so fast he thought it might explode. The flying machine landed in the open area behind the house with almost no sound. It was at least 100 meters long and shaped like nothing he had seen in any movie or book. The metal surface was smooth and black, with patterns that seemed to move when he looked at them. A section of the machine's side simply disappeared, creating an opening. Jamin wanted to run, but his legs would not move. Steam or smoke poured out of the opening, and then a figure stepped through it. She was tall, very tall, at least 2 meters, maybe more. Her skin was silver white and seemed to glow with a soft light. Blue markings covered her arms and face in patterns that looked like lightning. Her hair was white as snow and moved as if it was floating in water. She wore armor that looked like it was made from the same material as her ship, and weapons hung from her belt that could have been guns or swords or both. But what made Jamin's knees weak were her eyes. They were completely blue, with no white parts at all, and they glowed like stars. When she looked at him, he felt like she could see right through him to his bones. She walked toward him with long, confident steps. Each step made small cracks in the concrete. When she stopped in front of him, he had to lean his head back to see her face. "You," she said, in perfect Korean, though her voice sounded like music mixed with thunder, "are not Dong-ho Kim." Jamin's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came out. "Answer me, human child," she continued, and now her voice carried anger that made him step backward. "Where is the old man who made the contract? Where is my husband?" He died," Jamin finally managed to whisper. 3 weeks ago, I am his grandfather. I mean, he is my grandfather, was my grandfather." The tall woman's eyes grew brighter, and the blue markings on her skin began to pulse faster. "Dead, the coward dies, and leaves me bound to a boy who looks like he has never held a weapon in his life." She turned away from him and spoke in a language that sounded like singing mixed with growling. Another figure emerged from the ship. This one was male, almost as tall as she was, with the same silver skin and blue markings. He carried weapons that were definitely guns, though they looked nothing like any gun Jamin had ever seen. The two aliens talked rapidly in their strange language. The woman kept pointing at Jamin and then at the house. The man seemed to be trying to calm her down, but she was getting more angry, not less. Finally, she turned back to Jamin. My name is Vera, of the Faldari Empire, daughter of Emperor Theron, commander of the Third Fleet, and winner of 47 battles. 30 years ago, your grandfather signed a marriage contract, binding me to his family line to prevent a war that would have destroyed both our worlds. That contract is sealed with blood magic from both species and cannot be broken. She stepped closer to him, and he could feel heat coming from her skin. The contract states that I am to be the wife of the eldest male heir of the Kim family line. Since the old fool is dead, that means you, little boy. Jamin felt the world spinning around him. Wife, but I am only 19. I am still in college. I do not even have a job. I do not care if you are 9 or 90, Vera said coldly. The contract is binding. I am now your wife, whether either of us likes it or not. And trust me, human, I like it even less than you do. She looked around at the estate with disgust. I have spent 30 years training for war, leading armies, and conquering planets. I was supposed to marry a warrior king and bear children who would rule star systems. Instead, I am stuck with a weak human boy who looks like he would faint if someone raised their voice at him. The male alien said something in their language. Vera nodded slowly. Kai reminds me that honor must be satisfied. She said to Jim, the contract protects both our peoples from a war that would kill billions. So I will stay, and I will protect you as the contract demands, but do not expect me to like it. She walked past him toward the house. Show me where I will live, husband, and then you will explain to me how a child like you ended up inheriting the most important diplomatic agreement in galactic history. Jamin watched her go, his mind completely blank. 20 minutes ago, his biggest worry had been passing his history exam next week. Now he was married to an alien warrior princess who could probably tear him in half with her bare hands. He looked up at the alien ship sitting in his backyard and wondered if his life could possibly get any stranger. The first night was a disaster. Vera had claimed the master bedroom without asking, and Jamin could hear her moving around all night. It sounded like she was rearranging furniture, but when morning came, he discovered she had actually built some kind of weapon rack out of the expensive wooden dresser his grandfather had owned. J-Min knocked on the door carefully. Vera, are you awake? The door opened so fast it nearly hit him in the face. Vera stood there wearing the same armor from yesterday, looking like she had not slept at all. Her blue eyes were bright and alert, scanning the hallway behind him as if enemies might jump out at any moment. I have been awake for 3 hours, she said. Humans sleep too much. It makes you weak and vulnerable to attack. Attack? Jamin rubbed his tired eyes. Who is going to attack us here? Vera gave him a look that made him feel very stupid. The contract binding us has been dormant for 30 years. Now that it is active again, every enemy of my family and every political rival in the galaxy knows where I am. We will be hunted, human boy. She walked past him toward the kitchen. Jamin followed, trying not to stare at the way her armor seemed to move with her like it was alive. In the kitchen, Vera was opening every cabinet and drawer, examining the contents with growing displeasure. Where is the food preparation area? This is it, Jamin said, pointing around the modern kitchen. The stove, the refrigerator, the microwave. This is not a food preparation area. This is a toy. Vera picked up a knife from the counter and bent it in half with 2 fingers. These tools are useless. How do you survive eating food prepared with such weak instruments? Jamin watched her bend a fork into a pretzel shape. We do not usually bend our eating utensils. Of course you do not. You probably eat processed nutrition paste like children. Vera opened the refrigerator and stared at the contents for a long moment. What is this white liquid? Milk? From what animal? Cows. Vera's face showed disgust. You drink the milk meant for baby animals. No wonder humans are so weak. She grabbed the entire gallon of milk and drank it all without stopping. When she finished, she crushed the plastic container in her fist and looked around for more food. In the next 10 minutes, she ate everything in the refrigerator. The leftover pizza, the bag of apples, half a loaf of bread, and a container of kimchi that had been there for weeks. This will have to do for now, she said, wiping her mouth. But you will need to bring more food. Much more. I require 4 times the nutrition of a human. Jamin stared at his empty refrigerator. That was supposed to last me a week. Then you do not eat enough either. Kai, she called toward the window. The male alien who had come with her appeared instantly, as if he had been waiting right outside. He moved through the door without making any sound, which was impressive for someone his size. This is Kai, Vera said to Jamin. He is my bodyguard and weapons master. He will be staying here as well to ensure our security. Kai nodded once at Jamin. When he spoke, his voice was deeper than Vera's but just as strange. Honor to meet you, young husband of Vera. Husband, Jamin repeated weakly. Right. About that. There is nothing to discuss, Vera cut him off. The contract is clear. I am bound to you until death dissolves the bond. This arrangement disgusts me, but my honor demands I fulfill it. She began walking through the house, examining everything with a critical eye. This structure is poorly designed for defense. Too many windows, too many entrance points. The walls are too thin to stop energy weapons. We will need to make modifications. But this house is perfect the way it is. Vera punched the wall next to the front door. Her fist went completely through it, leaving a hole the size of a dinner plate. Perfect for getting us killed. Perhaps Kai, begin installing the defensive systems from the ship. Wait, Jamin said quickly. You cannot just destroy my grandfather's house. And what about the neighbors? They will see your ship and ask questions. Let them ask if they become a threat. We will eliminate them. You cannot eliminate the neighbors. Jamin felt panic rising in his chest. This is not some war zone. This is a peaceful place. People here do not expect to be eliminated. Vera stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. You live without expecting death. How do you prepare for battle? We do not prepare for battle. We prepare for school and work and paying bills. Money. We owe for using electricity and water, and you pay other people for the right to use basic survival resources. Vera's blue markings began pulsing faster. What kind of strange slavery is this? Explaining human society to an alien warrior princess turned out to be the hardest thing Jamin had ever attempted. Vera could not understand why humans worked jobs they did not enjoy. She could not understand why they did not simply take what they needed from the weak and give it to the strong. She especially could not understand why Jamin was worried about something called credit card debt when he could obviously just conquer the bank that held the debt. Human society is built on cooperation, not conquest. Jamin tried to explain. We work together and share resources so everyone can survive better. Cooperation makes you soft. Vera replied. It makes you dependent on others instead of strong on your own. This is why humans are prey species. In the galaxy, there are predator species and prey species. Predators take what they want and defend what they have. Prey species hide and hope the predators do not find them. She looked around the comfortable house with its soft furniture and decorative plants. This entire planet is built for prey behavior. You have made yourselves weak and comfortable because you have never faced real danger. That afternoon, Vera decided to test the house's security by trying to break into it herself. She climbed onto the roof and tried to enter through the skylight. She tested every window and door. She even tried to dig a tunnel under the foundation, which she accomplished in about 20 minutes using tools from her ship. Pathetic, she announced when she was finished. I could invade this structure 17 different ways without making a sound. Any competent assassin could kill you in your sleep. Who wants to assassinate me? Jamin asked. I am nobody special. I study history at a small college. My most dangerous activity is riding the subway during rush hour. Vera sat down heavily on the couch, which creaked under her weight. You are married to me now. That makes you a target for every enemy my family has made in 300 years of conquest. It makes you valuable to anyone who wants to use you as leverage against the Valdari Empire. And it makes you a political symbol that various factions will want to either control or destroy. She looked at him with something that might have been pity. Your grandfather understood this. He lived in hiding for 30 years, always ready to fight or run. He kept weapons and escape routes and contingency plans. You do not even keep your doors locked. That evening, Jamin tried to return to some kind of normal routine. He had online classes to attend and homework to complete, but concentrating was impossible with Vera practicing combat moves in the living room. She moved like flowing water, spinning and striking at invisible enemies with her bare hands. Every movement was deadly graceful, and the sound of her fists cutting through the air was like thunder when she accidentally put her fist through the coffee table. Jamin finally spoke up. Could you maybe practice outside? Vera stopped mid-strike and looked at the broken furniture. This table was poorly constructed. It broke too easily. It was not made to be punched by alien warriors. Then what was it made for? Holding coffee, cups, and magazines, and remote controls. Vera stared at him like he had just explained quantum physics to a child. You have furniture whose only purpose is to hold other objects. Yes, objects you do not need for survival. Yes, this explains much about human weakness, she said, seriously. That night, Jamin lay in his bed in the guest room, listening to strange sounds from the master bedroom. It sounded like Vera was having nightmares, speaking rapidly in her alien language and occasionally making sounds that might have been crying. But when he knocked on the door to ask if she was okay, she told him to go away, in a voice that could have frozen fire. He stared at the ceiling and wondered how his life had become so complicated so quickly. Yesterday he had been worried about midterm exams. Now he was married to an alien who thought his entire species was pathetically weak. And apparently there were people in space who wanted to kill him for reasons he did not understand. Through the window, he could see Kai standing guard next to the alien ship. as still as a statue. The blue glow from his markings was the only light in the darkness. J-Min closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but every small sound made him jump. Maybe Vera was right about humans being a prey species. Maybe they really were too soft and comfortable, and unprepared for the dangers that were coming. But what was he supposed to do about it? He was just one college student who had inherited more than he could handle. How was he supposed to protect himself against alien assassins when he could barely figure out how to keep Vera from destroying his house? Outside, something howled in the distance. It might have been a wild animal, or it might have been something much worse. For the first time in his life, Jamin fell asleep, wishing he knew how to fight. The first assassination attempt happened on a Tuesday morning while Jamin was buying groceries. He had been living with Vera for 2 weeks, and feeding her had become his biggest challenge. She ate more food in one day than he usually ate in a week, and she complained constantly about the quality of human nutrition. J-Min was in the produce section, trying to calculate how many apples he needed to keep Vera happy for 3 days, when someone grabbed his arm from behind. Jamin Kim, the voice spoke Korean, but with a strange accent. He turned around and saw a man in a dark suit. The man looked human, but something was wrong with his eyes. They were too bright and focused in a way that made Jamin's skin crawl. Yes, Jamin said carefully, you need to come with me. There are people who want to meet you. I do not think so, Jamin said, trying to pull his arm away. The man's grip was much stronger than it should have been. This is not a request. The man's other hand moved toward his jacket, and Jamin saw the outline of a weapon. Before Jamin could react, Vera appeared behind the man like a ghost. One moment the grocery aisle was empty. The next moment she was there, her hand wrapped around the man's throat. Release my husband, she said quietly. The man's eyes went wide when he saw her. He let go of Jamin's arm immediately and tried to reach for his weapon. Vera's other hand moved faster than Jamin could follow, and suddenly the man was on the floor, unconscious. Are you injured? Vera asked Jamin, checking him for wounds. No, I am fine. But who was that? Vera knelt next to the unconscious man and examined his face closely. A hybrid, part human, part something else. His scent is wrong. She stood up and looked around the store. There will be others. We need to leave now. They left the groceries and walked quickly toward the exit. Jamin's hands were shaking, but Vera moved with calm confidence, her eyes scanning for threats. How did you know I was in danger? Jamin asked as they got into his car. I have been following you every time you leave the house, Vera said simply. You are completely unaware of your surroundings. You would not notice a threat until it killed you. Jamin felt embarrassed and grateful at the same time. Thank you. Do not thank me. Protecting you is my duty, not my choice. But when she said it, her voice was not as cold as usual. That evening, Vera began teaching Jamin how to notice danger. She showed him how to scan a room when he entered it, how to identify escape routes, and how to tell when someone was watching him. Your species has weak senses, she explained as they practiced in the living room. But you can train your mind to notice what your body misses. Watch my movements. She moved across the room in complete silence, her footsteps making no sound at all. Now you try. Jamin tried to copy her movements, but every step he took sounded like thunder compared to her ghost-like silence. You think too much about trying to be quiet, Vera said. Instead, think about feeling the ground through your feet. Let your body find the balance naturally. After an hour of practice, Jamin managed to take 3 steps without making noise. Vera nodded once, which felt like the highest praise he had ever received. Better, you learned faster than I expected. The second attack came 3 days later, but this time they took someone Jamin cared about. His best friend Sora had been calling him for days, worried because he had not been answering his phone regularly. Finally, she decided to visit the estate to make sure he was okay. Jamin had not told her about Vera, or the aliens, or the marriage contract. How could he explain something so impossible? Sora arrived on a Saturday afternoon, driving her old car up the mountain road. Jamin saw her through the window and felt panic rise in his chest. Vera was outside practicing combat with weapons that could cut through steel. Kai was working on the ship with tools that definitely did not come from Earth. Vera, Jamin called out the window. Hide everything. My friend is here. Vera looked up from her sword practice. Your friend is a security risk. She is not a risk, she is just worried about me. Please, just try to look normal. Vera stared at him like he had asked her to turn into a butterfly. Normal, human normal. Hide the weapons, hide the armor, hide anything that looks alien. By the time Sora knocked on the door, Vera had changed into regular clothes that Jamin had bought for her. The clothes did not fit properly because she was so tall, and she moved like she was wearing a costume, but from a distance she might have looked almost human. Jamin, Sora hugged him tightly. I was so worried. You disappeared after your grandfather died, and then you stopped coming to classes. I am fine, Jamin said quickly. Just dealing with inheritance paperwork and things. Sora looked past him and saw Vera standing in the hallway. Her Her eyes went wide. "Oh, hello, this is my cousin Jamin," lied desperately. "She is visiting from up north." Vera stepped forward and bowed formally. "Honored to meet you, Sora." Of the engineering studies, Sora looked confused. "How do you know I study engineering?" "Jamin speaks of you often," Vera said, which was not true at all. For the next hour, Jamin tried to have a normal conversation with his best friend while Vera sat nearby like a statue. Every few minutes, Vera would say something that sounded almost right but not quite, like she was translating thoughts from another language. "Your friend has strong hands," Vera observed when Sora mentioned her part-time job at a machine shop. "Good for weapon construction." "Weapon construction?" Sora laughed. "I mostly just fix broken equipment." "Equipment repair is a valuable combat skill," Vera said seriously. So-Ra gave Jamin a questioning look. He shrugged and changed the subject quickly. Everything was going reasonably well, until Sora went to use the bathroom and saw Kai through the window. Kai was standing guard next to the alien ship, which they had not been able to hide completely. Behind the trees, Jamin Sora called from the bathroom window. "Why is there a very tall silver person standing next to what looks like a spaceship in your backyard?" Before Jamin could answer, 3 black cars came speeding up the mountain road. They moved too fast for the narrow, winding road, and they did not slow down as they approached the house. Vera was on her feet instantly, all pretense of being human forgotten. Hostile vehicles approaching. Multiple occupants armed. "What is happening?" Sora came running back into the room. "Get down," Jamin shouted, pulling Sora behind the couch. The car stopped in front of the house, and people in dark clothing jumped out. They moved with military precision, surrounding the building in seconds. These were not local police or government agents, these were professionals. Jamin Kim, a voice called through a loudspeaker. "Send out the Valdari princess, and no one needs to be hurt." Vera had her weapons out now. The strange guns that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. "They want me, not you," she said to Jamin. "I will surrender, and they will leave you alone." "No," Jamin said without thinking, "you are not going anywhere." Vera stared at him in surprise. "You would fight to protect me?" "Yes, you do not know how to fight, then teach me, right now." Sora was looking back and forth between them like they had both lost their minds. "Will someone please explain what is happening?" "My cousin is not actually my cousin," Jamin said quickly. "She is an alien warrior princess. I am married to her because of a contract my grandfather signed, and those people outside want to kidnap her." Sora blinked twice. "Okay, what do we do?" Jamin felt a surge of affection for his friend. Sora had always been practical. When faced with impossible situations, she focused on solutions instead of panic. "We fight," Vera said, handing Jamin one of her smaller weapons. "This will fire energy bolts. Point it at enemies and press this button. Do not point it at allies." "How do I tell the difference?" "Enemies are the ones trying to kill you." The front door exploded inward, and armed figures poured into the house. They were definitely human, but they moved with the same enhanced speed and strength as the man from the grocery store. Vera met them head-on, moving like a deadly dance. Her weapons fired bolts of blue light that sent the attackers flying backward, but there were too many of them, and more kept coming. J-Min had never held a weapon in his life, but when one of the attackers grabbed Sora, something fierce and protective rose up inside him. He pointed Vera's gun and pulled the trigger. The energy bolt hit the attacker in the chest and knocked him unconscious. Jamin felt a mix of satisfaction and terror. He had just shot someone, and it felt both horrible and necessary. "Good shot," Vera called out as she fought 3 attackers at once. "Now get Sora to safety." But before Jamin could move, something heavy hit him in the back of the head, and everything went dark. When he woke up, he was tied to a chair in an empty warehouse. Sora was tied up next to him, unconscious but breathing. Vera was nowhere to be seen. A man in an expensive suit walked up to them. He looked completely human, but his smile was cold and calculating. "Jamin Kim," the man said in perfect Korean, "you have something that belongs to us. We want the Valdari princess and all the alien technology your grandfather left you. Give us what we want, and you and your friend can go home." "Where is Vera?" Jamin asked. "Safe. For now, but not for long if you do not cooperate." Jamin looked around the warehouse. There were at least 20 armed guards, and he was tied up with industrial rope. The situation looked hopeless. Then he remembered something Vera had taught him about finding advantages in impossible situations. "You made a mistake," Jamin said to the man in the suit. "What mistake?" "You assumed I was helpless without Vera." Jamin had been working on the ropes behind his back while they talked. His grandfather's house had been full of alien technology, and he had been learning how to use it, including the small cutting tool he had hidden in his shoe that morning. "You also assumed Vera was the only alien on my property." The warehouse lights went out. In the darkness, Jamin heard the sound of energy weapons firing and people shouting in panic. Kai had found them. When the lights came back on, most of the guards were unconscious. Kai stood in the middle of the warehouse like an avenging angel. his blue markings glowing bright in the dim light. "Are you injured, young husband of Vera?" Kai asked as he cut their ropes. "No, but where is Vera?" "Fighting her way out of their ship. She wanted me to rescue you first." Sora was awake now, staring at Kai with wide eyes. "Are you an alien too?" "Yes," Kai said simply. "I apologize for the deception. This is the best day of my life," Sora said weakly. They escaped from the warehouse just as Vera's captured ship exploded in the distance. Vera came walking out of the fire and smoke, looking completely unharmed but very angry. "Next time," she said to Jamin, "when I tell you to stay hidden, you stay hidden. Next time, when someone tries to kidnap my friend, I am going to fight them whether you like it or not." Vera stared at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time since he had met her, she smiled. "Perhaps you are not as weak as I thought, husband." 3 months after the warehouse rescue, Jamin's life had changed completely. He trained with Vera every morning before sunrise, learning combat skills that would have seemed impossible before. His body was stronger now, his reflexes faster, and his mind sharper. More importantly, he and Vera had developed something that felt like real partnership. They worked together to defend the estate from smaller attacks that came almost weekly. Bounty hunters, alien mercenaries, and strange, hybrid creatures all tried to capture or kill them for various reasons. Each time, they fought side by side, covering each other's weaknesses and building trust. Vera had begun teaching him about alien technology, and Jamin discovered he had a natural talent for understanding how the strange machines worked. His grandfather had left behind devices that could shield the house from detection, weapons that could stop an army, and communication systems that connected to networks across the galaxy. "You learn this faster than most Valdari children," Vera told him one evening, as he successfully activated a defensive barrier around the property. "Perhaps human minds are more flexible than I believed. Perhaps Valdari teachers are better than human ones," Jamin replied. Vera almost smiled at that. She had been smiling more often lately, and the cold anger that used to fill her voice was mostly gone. She still called him weak sometimes, but now it sounded more like teasing than insult. Dots had become part of their strange little family. After learning the truth about aliens and marriage contracts, she had thrown herself into helping them upgrade their defenses. Her engineering skills combined with alien technology produced results that impressed even Kai. "I have redesigned your energy weapons to be more efficient," Sora announced one afternoon, showing them her modifications. "They should fire 20% faster now." "Impressive work," Vera said, examining the changes. "You have warrior instincts for someone who claims to be a peaceful engineer." "I am peaceful," Sora said. "But I am not stupid. If aliens are trying to kill my best friend, then I am going to help him kill them back." That evening, as they sat around the dinner table, eating the massive meal required to keep Vera fed, Jamin felt something he had not experienced in months. Happiness. Despite all the danger and strangeness, he was happy. Then everything changed. The sky turned darkened, the middle of the day, blocked out by something so massive it made Vera's ship look like a toy. The shadow stretched from horizon to horizon, and when Jamin looked up, he could see the outline of a vessel that was easily the size of a city. Vera went completely still when she saw it. Her face turned pale, and for the first time since he had known her, she looked afraid. "What is that?" Jamin asked. "My father's flagship," Vera whispered. "Emperor Theron has come to Earth." The massive ship settled into orbit above their mountain, and smaller ships began descending like deadly rain. They landed in perfect formation around the estate, creating a circle of alien military might that could have conquered a planet. Then, Emperor Theron himself came down. He was even taller than Vera, with the same silver skin and blue markings, but his presence filled the air with power that made Jamin's knees weak. His armor was black and gold, covered with symbols that seemed to move when looked at directly. When he walked, the ground trembled slightly under his feet. "Daughter," he said to Vera, in a voice like controlled thunder, "you have forgotten your duties." Vera knelt immediately, her head bowed. "Father, I greet you with honor." "Honor, Emperor." Theron's blue eyes blazed brighter. "You speak of honor while you play house with a human child, while my armies fight wars across 3 star systems without their greatest commander." He looked at Jamin with disgust. "This is the weak creature that has stolen my daughter from her destiny." Jamin wanted to run and hide, but he forced himself to stand straight. "Your Majesty, I am Jamin Kim. I know who you are, human. You are the mistake that is about to be corrected." Emperor Theron turned back to Vera. "The marriage contract was a temporary necessity to prevent one war. But now 3 new wars have begun because you are not leading my fleets. Your absence has cost us entire planets. Father, the contract cannot be broken. You know this. The contract can be dissolved if one party dies." The Emperor said coldly, "Since you refuse to abandon this weakness willingly, I will remove the obstacle." He gestured, and 2 of his guards moved toward Jamin. They were even larger than Kai, and their weapons could have vaporized a building. "Wait," Vera stood up, placing herself between Jamin and the guards. "Father, please. The human is under my protection." Your protection. Emperor Theron's voice rose. You protect prey animals now. Have you fallen so far from your warrior? Heritage is not prey, Vera said firmly. He has fought beside me. He has shown courage and strength and honor. He is worthy of protection. Prove it, the Emperor said. If this human is truly worthy, let him face me in single combat. If he wins, I will honor the marriage contract and leave him in peace. If he loses, he dies, and you return to your duties as my heir. The clearing around the house went completely silent. Even the wind seemed to stop blowing. Father, no, Vera said desperately. He cannot match your strength. This would be murder, not combat. Then he is weak, and you are wasting your life on weakness. Jamin stepped forward before Vera could. Stop him, I accept Jamin. No, Vera grabbed his arm. You do not understand what you are agreeing to. My father has conquered entire civilizations. He has never lost a battle. I understand, Jamin said quietly, but I will not hide behind you anymore. If I am going to be your husband, I need to prove I am worthy of you. Emperor Theron laughed, but it was not a pleasant sound. The prey animal has pride. How amusing. Very well. Human, we will fight at dawn. If you somehow survive until sunset, I will consider you worthy. But when you die screaming, remember that your arrogance killed you. That night, Vera tried to convince Jamin to run away. There is no shame in retreat when facing impossible odds, she said. We could take Kai and Sora and find somewhere to hide, and spend the rest of our lives hiding. Jamin shook his head. Your father is right about one thing. You are a warrior princess who should be leading armies, not protecting one human boy. If I cannot prove myself worthy of you, then maybe you should be free to choose your own path. My path is with you, Vera said fiercely. I choose you, Jamin Kim, not because of any contract, but because you have shown me that strength comes in many forms. You have shown me that partnership can be stronger than conquest. She took his hands in hers. I was raised to believe that only physical power mattered. But you have taught me about moral courage, about fighting for others instead of just for yourself. You have made me better than I was. Then help me make this fight count, Jamin said. Teach me everything you can before dawn. They spent the night preparing. Vera showed him every fighting technique she knew. Kai helped him understand the alien weapon systems, and Sora worked frantically to modify his grandfather's technology into something that might give him an edge. The power core from your grandfather's main computer, Sora explained as she worked. If I can integrate it into the personal shield generator, it might absorb some of the impact from energy weapons. Maybe enough to keep you alive for a few extra seconds. A few extra seconds might be all I need, Jamin said. As the sun began to rise, Emperor Theron appeared in the clearing behind the house. He carried weapons that looked like they could crack mountains, and his armor gleamed like liquid metal in the early light. Are you ready to die, human? Jamin checked his equipment one last time. He wore modified armor that Sora had built from alien materials. He carried weapons that Vera had taught him to use. Most importantly, he carried the knowledge that he was fighting for something bigger than himself. I am ready to fight, he said. The battle began with Emperor Theron moving faster than human eyes could follow. His first attack would have killed Jamin instantly, if not for the shield generator that absorbed most of the energy. Even so, the force of the blow sent him flying backward into a tree. Disappointing, the Emperor said. I expected more from someone my daughter deemed worthy. Jamin got back to his feet, his whole body aching. The shield had saved his life, but it was already overloaded. One more hit like that would kill him. But as he faced the alien Emperor, Jamin realized something important. He was not trying to win this fight through strength. He was trying to prove something else entirely. Your daughter is the strongest person I have ever met, he called out to the Emperor. But do you know what makes her truly powerful? Enlighten me before I kill you. She chooses who to protect instead of who to conquer. She builds alliances. Instead of just taking what she wants, she makes everyone around her stronger, instead of keeping all the power for herself. Jamin dodged the Emperor's next attack and continued talking. You raised a warrior, but she became something better. She became a leader who inspires loyalty instead of demanding it. Enough words, the Emperor snarled, but Jamin could see that his attacks were becoming more frustrated and less controlled. She chose me not because I am strong enough to match her. Jamin continued, using every evasion technique Vera had taught him. She chose me because I am willing to become stronger for her, because I fight for her happiness, not for my own glory. The fight continued as the sun rose higher, but it was no longer really about combat. It was about proving a point that went beyond physical strength. And somewhere in the middle of dodging attacks that could have leveled buildings, Jamin realized that Emperor Theron was starting to understand what his daughter had seen in this strange human boy. By the time the sun reached its peak, both fighters were exhausted, but only one of them had proven what really mattered. The fight had been going for 6 hours. Jamin's armor was cracked and smoking, his weapons were nearly drained of power, and he could barely stand. Emperor Theron looked like he had barely started warming up. but something in his eyes had changed. You continue to surprise me, human, the Emperor said as he circled Jamin like a predator. Most warriors would have died from my first attack. Yet, you endure. Jamin wiped blood from his mouth and raised his weapon again. I told you, I am not fighting for myself. Yes, you have made that clear, but endurance is not victory. You cannot win this battle through determination alone. Maybe not, Jamin admitted, but I can prove something more important than victory. The Emperor paused. And what is that? That love makes us stronger, not weaker. That choosing to protect someone else gives us power we never knew we had. Emperor Theron's expression became thoughtful. You speak of concepts my people abandoned. Long ago, we learned that attachment leads to weakness, that caring for others makes a warrior vulnerable. You learned wrong, Jamin said firmly. Vera is stronger because she has people to fight for. She is better because she chooses to use her strength, to protect instead of just to conquer. Before the Emperor could respond, alarms began sounding from the ships surrounding the estate. Kai came running from the communications array, his face filled with urgency. Emperor Theron, Kai called out, priority message from the fleet command. The Zephyrians have broken the ceasefire. They are attacking the colony worlds while our forces are here. The Emperor's face darkened. How many colonies? 7 so far. They know Vera is not leading the Third Fleet. They are taking advantage of her absence. Emperor Theron turned to look at his daughter, who had been watching the combat from the edge of the clearing. Do you see? This is the cost of your choices. People die while you play at being human. Vera's face was filled with anguish. Jamin could see her being torn between duty to her people and her feelings for him. Go, Jamin said quietly. What? Vera stared at him. Go, lead your fleet, save your people. That is who you are. I will not leave you to die. I am not going to die, Jamin said, though he was not sure he believed it himself. But even if I do, it would be wrong for innocent people to suffer because you stayed to protect me. Emperor Theron watched this exchange with growing interest. You would send away your only advantage in this fight. She is not my advantage, Jamin said. She is her own person, and her people need her more than I do right now. Jamin, no. Vera stepped toward him, but he held up his hand. This is my choice. Go be the leader you were born to be. If I am worthy of you, I will find a way to survive. If I am not, then at least you will be free to serve your people. For a long moment, Vera stood frozen between her two worlds. Then she made her decision. I go to war, she announced, but not because you command it, father, and not because duty demands it. I go because my husband is right. A true leader protects all their people, not just the ones they love most. She walked over to Jamin and kissed him gently. When I return, we will finish what we started. When you return, Jamin agreed. Vera turned to her father. The combat trial continues until sunset, as agreed. If Jamin survives, you will honor his worthiness, and if he does not, then you will have proven that strength matters more than love, but you will have lost a daughter as well as a son. With that, Vera boarded her ship and launched toward the stars to join the battle for her people's survival. Emperor Theron watched his daughter's ship disappear into the sky. She defies me to protect you, then leaves you to die, to protect others. I begin to understand why she finds you interesting. We can finish this fight, Jamin said, raising his weapon again, despite his exhaustion. We could, the Emperor agreed, but I find myself curious about something else. You told my daughter to leave, knowing it meant facing me alone. Why? Jamin thought about the question as he tried to steady his breathing. Because loving someone means wanting them to be the best version of themselves, even if it costs you something, even if it costs you your life. Even then, Emperor Theron set down his weapons. In 300 years of conquest, I have never met an enemy who willingly gave up their greatest advantage. Most beings cling to whatever power they can gather, even if it corrupts them. I am not your enemy, Jamin said. I am someone who loves your daughter. Yes, I am beginning to see that. The Emperor walked over to a fallen tree and sat down heavily. Tell me about this love. Human, explain to me how weakness can create strength. For the next hour, as the sun moved across the sky, Jamin told Emperor Theron about his relationship with Vera. He explained how she had changed. From seeing humans as prey to understanding them as potential allies. He described how working together had made both of them stronger than they were alone. She taught me to fight, Jamin said, but I taught her why fighting matters. She showed me how to be brave, but I showed her that bravery without purpose is just violence, and you believe this ... partnership makes you both more powerful. I know it does. When we fight together, we cover each other's weaknesses and multiply each other's strengths. When we work together, we can solve problems that neither of us could handle alone. Emperor Theron was quiet for a long time. My people have built an empire on the principle that only the strong deserve to survive. We conquer because we can. We rule because we are powerful. And how is that working for you? Jamin asked boldly. The Emperor's eyes flashed dangerously, but then he laughed. Poorly, as it happens. We have many enemies and few true allies. Our conquered subjects obey us out of fear, not loyalty. When we are weak, they rebel. When we are strong, they plot against us. Vera is building something different. Jamin said, she is building relationships based on choice and mutual benefit. People follow her because they want to, not because they have to. As the afternoon wore on, their conversation was interrupted. By reports from the battle, Vera was leading the Third Fleet against the Zephyrian invasion, and early reports suggested she was winning. But the fighting was fierce, and victory was not certain. She could die out there, Emperor Theron said, watching the tactical displays on his communicator. Yes, Jamin agreed, but she is dying for something she believes in, fighting to protect people who cannot protect themselves. That is who she is, and you are not afraid that she might choose duty over love. If she did, it would break my heart, Jamin said honestly, but it would not change how I feel about her. I love her because of who she is, not because of what she gives me. The sun was getting low in the sky when the final reports came in. Vera had won the battle, driving off the Zephyrian fleet and saving the colony worlds, but her ship had been badly damaged in the fighting, and she was barely making it back to Earth. Emperor Theron stood up and walked to the center of the clearing. The trial ends at sunset. Human, you have survived, which fulfills the technical requirements of our agreement. But Jamin could hear the qualification in his voice. But I have learned something more important than whether you can survive a day of combat. The Emperor looked up at the darkening sky. I have learned that my daughter has found something I thought impossible. She has found a partner who makes her stronger without making her dependent. Vera's ship appeared in the evening sky, trailing smoke and moving slowly. It landed heavily in the clearing, and Vera stumbled out, her armor damaged and her face streaked with exhaustion. Did he survive? Were her first words. He survived, Emperor Theron said, and he taught me something about the nature of true strength. Vera looked back and forth between her father and Jamin, trying to understand what had happened while she was gone. Father, your human has proven himself worthy, the Emperor said formally. Not through combat prowess, though he showed surprising courage in battle. He proved himself worthy through his understanding of what it means to be strong. He turned to address both of them. I came here believing that your marriage was a weakness that needed to be eliminated. I leave understanding that it is a strength that should be protected. You are accepting our marriage? Vera asked in amazement. I am doing more than that, Emperor Theron said. I am appointing you both as official ambassadors between the Valdari Empire and Earth. Your partnership will serve as a model for the kind of alliances we should be building, instead of the conquests we have been pursuing. As the sun set behind the mountains, Jamin and Vera stood together in the clearing, surrounded by the remnants of their greatest trial. They had proven that love could coexist with strength, that partnership could enhance power instead of diminishing it. Are you ready for what comes next? Vera asked him. With you, I am ready for anything. Above them, the stars were coming out, and somewhere among them was a galaxy full of challenges and opportunities waiting for a new kind of diplomacy built on respect, understanding, and the revolutionary idea that strength shared was strength multiplied. 6 months later, the Kim estate had been transformed into something that would have amazed Jamin's grandfather. The old house was now the center of Earth's first official alien embassy. New buildings had been constructed using both human and Valdari technology, creating structures that were both beautiful and incredibly strong. J-Min stood in the main conference room, watching through the windows as human and alien engineers worked together to install the latest communication systems. The sight still amazed him sometimes. 6 months ago, he had been a college student worried about passing his exams. Now he was helping to establish diplomatic relations with dozens of alien civilizations. The Manthuri delegation will arrive. At 3 o'clock, Sora announced as she entered the room, carrying a tablet full of schedules. She had become their chief technology coordinator, and her ability to understand both human and alien systems made her invaluable. Are you nervous? Jamin asked her. Terrified, Sora admitted. The Manthari are supposed to be 8 feet tall and covered in what looks like armor plating, but they are also supposed to be completely peaceful, so I guess that is good. Peaceful is definitely good, Jamin agreed. The door opened and Vera entered, wearing the formal diplomatic uniform that combined elements of both Valdari military dress and human business attire. She had been in meetings all morning with representatives from the global United Nations, working out the details of Earth's new status in the galactic community. How did it go? Jamin asked. Better than expected, Vera said, sitting down at the conference table. The human governments are finally beginning to understand that joining the galactic community does not mean being conquered by it. Your species' natural diplomacy skills are actually very valuable to other civilizations. What do you mean? Most alien species are like my people, where they solve problems through strength and direct action, but humans have developed sophisticated ways of finding compromise and building consensus. Many galactic disputes could be resolved through human-style mediation. Kai entered the room carrying a stack of reports. The training program is proceeding well, he announced. The first group of human students are showing remarkable progress in combat techniques, and the Valdari warriors assigned to Earth are learning human tactical thinking faster than we expected. The training program had been Vera's idea. Young humans who wanted to learn alien fighting techniques could study at the embassy, while alien warriors learned human strategy and technology. The exchange was creating a new kind of soldier, one who combined the best of both species' approaches to defense. Any problems? Jamin asked. Only minor cultural misunderstandings, Kai said, with something that might have been amusement. Yesterday, a human student tried to offer food to a Valdari instructor as a gesture of friendship. The instructor interpreted this as a challenge to combat and nearly started a fight. We will add a session on cultural differences to the orientation program, Vera said, making a note on her tablet. Speaking of cultural differences, Sora said, we have received an interesting proposal from the Zephyrian government. Everyone looked up in surprise. The Zephyrians were the same species that had attacked the Valdari colonies during Vera's trial combat with her father. What kind of proposal? Vera asked carefully. They want to send a delegation here to learn about human conflict resolution techniques, Sora explained. Apparently, they heard about how you and Jamin resolved your differences, and they think human mediation might help them negotiate peace with their enemies instead of just fighting constant wars. Vera and Jamin exchanged glances. 6 months ago, they were trying to conquer Valdari colonies, Vera said, and now they want to learn how to make peace. Jamin added, that is quite a change. Your partnership has become famous across the galaxy, Kai explained. The story of a human and a Valdari choosing cooperation over conquest has inspired many species to reconsider their approaches to diplomacy. Are we ready to host former enemies? Vera asked. J-Min thought about it seriously. If we only work with people we already trust, we will never change anything. Maybe the Zephyrians are ready to try a different approach. Then we will accept their delegation, Vera decided, but with full security protocols. Of course, that evening, Jamin and Vera walked through the gardens behind the embassy. These had been designed by human landscapers working with Valdari, environmental engineers, creating spaces that were beautiful to both species. Alien plants grew alongside Earth flowers, and the result was unlike anything seen on either world. Do you ever miss your old life? Vera asked, as they sat on a bench beside a fountain that glowed with soft blue lights. Sometimes, Jamin admitted. I miss the simplicity of only worrying about homework and part-time jobs, but I would not trade this for anything. Even knowing that you will never have a normal human life. That there will always be danger and responsibility and challenges that most people cannot imagine. Especially knowing that Jamin said, I have learned things about myself that I never would have discovered in a normal life. I have become stronger and braver and more capable than I thought possible. And I have learned what it means to choose my own path, Vera said. For the first time in my life, I am not just following orders or fulfilling expectations. I am building something new. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the alien stars appear in the darkening sky. The constellation patterns were slowly changing as more and more ships from other worlds came to Earth, bringing new opportunities and challenges. The Corinthian ambassador wants to establish a permanent trade mission, Vera said eventually. They are interested in human art and music in exchange for their advanced medical technology. That sounds promising. And the Salvani Council has proposed a joint research project. They want to combine human creativity with their scientific knowledge to develop new technologies that could benefit multiple species. Even better, your grandfather would be proud, Vera said softly. His contract was meant to prevent one war, but it has become the foundation for an entirely new approach to galactic relations. He was smarter than either of us realized. Jamin agreed. He understood that the best way to protect Earth was not to hide from the galaxy, but to become valuable to it. And the best way to do that was to prove that humans could be partners, not just subjects or enemies. A shooting star crossed the sky above them, except Jamin now knew that it was probably not a shooting star at all, but another ship arriving from the vast community of worlds that Earth was slowly joining. Are you ready for tomorrow's meetings? Vera asked. The Crystalline Collective wants to establish a cultural exchange program. The Nomad Fleet needs mediation for a territorial dispute, and the Hegemony Council wants to discuss trade agreements. Jamin recited from memory. So, no, I am definitely not ready. Vera laughed, a sound that still amazed him with its beauty. We will figure it out together. We always do. Together, Jamin agreed. As they walked back toward the embassy, Jamin reflected on how much had changed since that first day when Vera had landed in his backyard. He had inherited more than a house and some alien technology. He had inherited a responsibility to help build bridges between worlds. But more importantly, he had found a partner who shared his vision of what strength could be when it was used to protect and unite rather than conquer and divide. Together, they were creating something that neither humans nor Valdari had ever achieved, alone, a new kind of power based on cooperation. understanding, and the revolutionary idea that love could be a force for positive change in the galaxy. Embassy lights glowed warm and welcoming in the darkness, a beacon for any species seeking an alternative to endless conflict. Inside, human and alien staff worked side by side, preparing for another day of building the future, one relationship at a time. J-Min Kim, former college student and current galactic ambassador, took his alien wife's hand and walked toward their shared destiny. Behind them, the stars shone down on a world that was no longer alone in the universe, but was instead becoming a vital part of something much larger and more wonderful than anyone had ever imagined possible. The inheritance had become a gift, not just to Jamin and Vera, but to every species willing to believe that strength shared was strength multiplied, and that the best victories were the ones where everyone won. In the distance, another ship appeared in the night sky, carrying new visitors to a small planet that had learned to punch above its weight through the simple but revolutionary power of choosing cooperation over conquest, partnership over domination, and love over fear. The future was bright with possibilities, and it belonged to all of them together.